Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us once again for another week here at Faceit, and it's actually our last week of the year, as after this week, everyone's going to be taking a little bit of a break. You might find a couple of games here or there happening pretty close to Christmas, but for the most part, this is going to be it. Should be a fantastic week. We have a lot of South America Overwatch on the agenda here this week. Then it concludes tonight with Factor X taking on Garfo, and Dex, we'll jump into this game really quick, but hey, there's a little something going on, Mr. Dextron. We are. Oh. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong game on the thing. I was freaked out and I thought they rescheduled. Hunter is an idiot. So Dex, I realize you're running for your opportunity to speak because Hunter's being a bit of a blundering idiot. What's going on?
Let's get on with it.
Okay, good. Okay. Anyway. It's Charity Week, ladies and gentlemen. It's Charity Week over here at the Hunter Tane stream. We are doing a charity for Toys for Tots. This is basically a charity for those families and kids in need who do not have presses, aren't able to pretty much have themselves a normal Christmas. So pretty much, if you have the opportunity to donate tonight, you're more than free to. Obviously, no obligation whatsoever. We'll talk more and more about it throughout the day, and obviously throughout the other streams that'll go throughout the week. We'll have it open pretty much the entirety of the week up until that Thursday where we do the last of our games for the week. But obviously, if you want to donate, 100% appreciate it. If you want to share it, 100% appreciate it. Under no obligation whatsoever. But Dex will talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Let's talk about this game that we're getting into right now for the time being, as things are getting set rather quickly.
Yeah, we know our first map is going to be Nepal, and already it was, I believe, Factor X banning out Venture here. But coming into this series here tonight, you have two teams with, when you look at the percentages, the same percentage of records, both sitting at 500. However, when you look a little bit deeper into that, it's a little bit different. Factor X has played 6 games, 3-3 on the season. Garfo has only played 2, 1-1. And Hunter, me and you talked about this a little bit last week, where we probably expect that playoff cutoff line to be around 4, 3 losses, maybe going as far as 5. So this is a very important game here for Factor X not to be going into the rest of this week, and then a little bit of a break, basically with their backs against the wall here. Garfo, though, their third game, they had CGL going on, so now they're back here. They won CGL against a really good Factor X team, which was the Factor X team of last season. They beat them there in a really, really good series. So right now, Garfo probably looking to keep that high going, be able to beat Factor X again. A little bit of a different variation of it here, but again, both these teams tonight looking to get something going here. If you're Factor X, you want to get a win, keep yourselves pretty much in a good spot for making the playoffs, but you still have some tough games ahead of you. Garfo, a win here, kind of same thing. You have some tough games ahead of you, but you would only have 1 loss going into your next one.
Yeah, 100%. That's kind of the bright side of having the situation where Garfo is going to have to play a lot of games this week, and it could be very hit or miss for the squad. But I think the momentum that they have, I think the confidence that this team should have, they should be able to take advantage of that. Obviously, there is a couple of really tough games in there, but with Factor X, you want to try to get the best start possible because, well, you know, the record of this team, while it is 3-3, this is still a team that is very scrappy, a team that knows how to fight. It is not the Factor X that we know, that we've seen over the course of much of this year, but it is still a squad that has gone out there, performed well. You look back over at the Sudamericana, had a really good performance over there, had a couple of really tough games here in Faceit this season, but I think the games that they should be winning, they have gone and won without too much of an issue. But this is probably that test that's going to define whether or not they really can be a playoff team, because a loss here, it makes things really difficult to stay in the race.
Yeah, and the couple of times we've seen this variation of Factor X, I think we've been impressed with it. Back in Sudamericana, I believe we also covered them once already in Faceit. And even though I believe they lost that game we covered, they still looked like they knew what they were doing. They had everything going the right way. This went up against a little bit of a better opponent that night here. They've played a couple games since then. They've had more time to scrim. They've had more time to go back and look over everything. So I expect to see a much improved Factor X from what we saw a little bit earlier on in the Faceit season. Garfo, though, I mean, only playing 2 games, like we said, because of CGL, but they won that, so you expect a lot of good things out of this team. But, Hunter, you have to remember how long we've actually been waiting for this game to take place. This was supposed to be the first game we covered in the South American season. Because of multiple reschedules, we're now getting what was supposed to be a match 1 here, very much towards what it's supposed to be maybe around the time you're playing your 6th game.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There was a couple of games that we were going to do right out the gate, and one of them got pushed to Kingdom Come. The other one also got pushed to Kingdom Come, but we're finally getting this one done now. And to be fair, this one carries a little bit more weight on it. Yes, while it is a different Factor X team that did end up losing to Garfo in those CGL Grand Finals, nevertheless, it is still a result that went down. So Garfo is basically hoping to repeat that history here against a whole different Factor X roster. And for Factor X, it's them basically trying to make up for the sins of the old in this bout. But we're getting ready to get things. We head into Nepal, as we'll see what both teams want to be able to pull out. I think the one matchup I'm really looking forward to here, which we have gotten to see before, thankfully, is this matchup between Volition and Lictat. I think that, for everything we have seen, have been the big standout DPS of these squads.
And I remember one thing here. DM has streamer mode on.
Yep.
So they are useless propaganda for our first map here. But yeah, that should be a really fun matchup to watch here throughout the night. However, second ban of this first map was Reinhardt. So Rein and Venture being banned out here. Not a ban you see often, maybe even ever, since Ventures joined Overwatch here. But you're looking at these two teams right now. It looks like Garfo is showing us a little bit more of a dive kind of playstyle with God Hanzo on that Diva. Well, what you kind of expect to see from Factor X, I think, on that, on the Brawl tank there with DM playing the Ramatra. I like the Mei coming out here from Volition. It will really section off a lot of what you want the other team to do here, but that's a very quick moving team on the other side there for them. It's going to be difficult to find a lot of value, but still the Ice Walls will decently do enough.
Yeah, 100%, but obviously the Diva going into the situation, it's going to be really rough. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't last a whole lot longer, but you're going to see a little bit of a transition for this squad. Garfo wants to be able to get on the point first and force, eventually for Garfo to have to meet them over on the point. For the time being, Factor X trying to pretty much solidify the spot over on the point. They do that for now, and for Garfo, this is going to be a tough entry getting in here.
Yeah, Garfo just have to try to figure out something here. They're going to try to retake the point, but losing Lictat is not how you want this fight get going here. Then you lose Marcel as well. You're just going to have to back up and just regroup here. This is already a little bit of a scattered fight change, though. They're popping off here right now.
Had a really good start there. We absolutely love to see it this early on. We'll see what the situation is, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, that issue that we have, that bug where it shows different teams for different players, that is still a thing, so don't get too confused. I definitely will a time or two, but we're getting ready for this next fight. You see on the outside right now, you're trying to pretty much take over a position right now if you are Dystopia. Clearing out the high ground point, close to flipping all over Dex right now, but Dystopia is getting forced out, is in a 2v2 situation now for getting a little bit of care. For the time being, I mean, you're in absolutely no rush to do anything right now, but hey, Consider Rush does come out. You're going to see DM be able to finish off Capion as things going back and forth out the gate here. Lictat is going to have a pulse bomb around the corner, but doesn't have the health pack quite yet.
Yeah, losing chains there right there for Factor X is not how you want the fight to go. However, you're still holding on to the point, and 4A going to be able to find Marcel on the other side. The Annihilation now coming out from DM, and that's at least going to buy them a little bit more time here, and it seems like Factor X is just deciding they are going to really invest a lot into just staggering this point out.
Yeah, 100%. Lictat able to get the finish, so 74%. You're going to have Garfo take over here in time. But to be fair, you don't use a ton of ultimates in the situation if you are Factor X, and you have a lot of really good ones going to this fight.
Yeah, you only use the bomb and the Consuming Rush there from Capium, but look what we got out from the other side. I feel like that Annihilation from DM was going to be a really big tool for potentially them coming back in. The fact that they used there means, yeah, you still have to deal with a couple other big ultimates, I'm meaning the rest of that team's ultimates, but I mean, if you're Marcel, you really need to build up to your own beat here. That's going to be able to sustain you through a lot of the ultimates that are about to come out here from Factor X.
Yeah, Dystopia out the gate though, gets rid of Change, gets rid of Egg, has already gotten rid of 2, and now 3 on the board, hoping to get another, but it's a finish that comes through, and that is exactly the fight you're hoping for. You managed to get rid of that Considering Rush, and Dystopia pops off.
Hey, send that clip in there. Send that clip to Faceit right there. Dystopia absolutely popping off. God Hanzo. God DMX just has to go jump off the map, and this now gives Factor X a little bit of an opportunity here to come back in and play very, very quickly. And they're going to take that, and you already find Capium out. It's almost a little bit of a mistake to do that, as you might just have to give it the point.
Yeah, you just might have to in a situation like this. We'll see what the situation is going to be. As point 80% now here for Factor X, hitting that free flip over and still a beat in their hands.
What worked for you? That's unfortunate. But right now, I mean, if you're Garfo, you have to get someone there. Volition doesn't get the or you're just seeing right now. It just seems like Garfo trying to find something here. Overclock coming out from Diego as they already find Ligtat.
Yep, both beats ready to go as end up seeing them both being used. You see though the freeze eventually comes through for Volition. Wants to be able to find somebody does get that bomb out. Someone needs to be able to recontest. Unfortunately, nobody able to do so. So first round going to be heading over here to Factor X. But all things considered, it was rather back and forth.
It was back and forth, but Factor X came out of the gate a little bit stronger. I think that composition really played well on that map in particular. Even though you really want to play up on that high ground, get down as fast as you can, normally you would think the Diva there for Garfo would work, but I think from DM we saw a really good example of how you can really play Ramattra into that sort of situation. And you also saw Diego Volition. I think change was a big difference maker there as well for Factor X. The fact that they're able to find so many picks on the Kiri is so good. It opens up so much for your team. It allows those DPS heroes to really play those off angles like Diego was. I mean, essentially they were kind of always hanging around where changed was, but now you go to the other side. Ligtat showing us the first time we're seeing Vendetta this season as she is now playable. One thing we did not mention at all because I, gonna be honest, I completely forgot about it.
I kind of forgot a little bit too. Unfortunate scenario, but still, at the end of the day, we'll see how much we get out of the Vendetta. We heard a lot of talk about it, a lot of good, a lot of bad, to be fair. We'll see how efficient it's going to be to get things started. For now, you're still hanging alive. Volition, though, was the first one gone, gets pooped off the side, and now you see Ligtat just trying to take over that side angle, pushing everybody back, causing separation nearly gets rid of Faceit, but for the time being, we'll at least be able to secure Garfo this first fight.
And look kind of how God Hanzo is playing with Ligtat here, using all that defense measures to make sure they can keep Ligtat alive and safe. And now that they're away from their Diva, they might be in a little bit of a bad spot here.
Yeah, you can say that again for sure. But we're having a quick cleanup here. You should see a realistic, just quick rush over to the point. Should be able to take it over here. Won't even get to 20% though. 18 on the board. As for the time being, the struggle, honestly, I think for them, is really going to be getting into this fight to begin with.
Yeah, and this is going to be something that's going to be really interesting to see through the rest of the night and the rest of the season now until we figure out how Vendetta is really played. Just the aggression level that can come out from Vendetta players. I think right there, Ligtat maybe went a little bit too aggressive and the reason they ended up dying there. Now, though, again, maybe a little bit too aggressive, but Dystopia going to be able to trade it out almost immediately.
At 100%, trying to stay alive. 4v4 right now, you have to stay in this mech right now if you want to take away this fight. In fact, it might be a situation where you have to wait for the full 5v5 once again because you're going to see that aggression from DM trying to get rid of Martial Arts is able to do so very successfully. And now at this point, again, Garfo just needs to take a little bit of a reset here. We're not going to get anything right now.
Yeah, that was a little bit of an unfortunate play there from Marcel. Now Godhound's a little bit too far pushed up. Dystopia investing the Bob here, but it's going to be them falling first, and the Bob mostly just used to cancel out the Kitsune Rush here. I don't hate it, but you would have probably loved to have the Bob as a little bit of point pressure.
Yeah, you would have loved it right here, but Ligtat getting moved off does kind of stop momentum a little bit here, but that's another big move coming through. Personal is able to get that boop over onto DM. That's going to clear the point wide open as it's going to tick over 67, make it 68 while we're at it here. But still, there's a lot online for both squads.
I mean, 2 ultimates invested there by each team, or by Garfo. They needed it. I think the Bob, again, maybe a little bit of a questionable usage of it, but hey, it got the job done. But now look at what Factor X has come back in this next engagement with Blizzard, Overclock, Annihilation, Beat. They are in a really good spot here that if they want to play aggressive and fast, they absolutely can here. Ligtat jumping in, does have the ultimate ready to go, but immediately just gets dash out. Beat out, though, from Marcel.
Yeah, lots of investments early on here, but Change is the first one to be able to go down, so not the best start you're really hoping for. Getting pressured a little bit here, but still, you have multiple tools. The Annihilation, you have the Freeze as well. But Ligtat, they want to let that loose. The opportunity is 100% going to have itself, but unfortunately, gets taken care of. Annihilation is used. Super Aggression being used. You do still have a bomb sitting by right now if you're out on zone. He's going to have it at the available, but is he going to be able to survive to remech with it? DM's going to finish off everybody. 70-something going to be on the board here, but they will take over. They do use a fair amount to get in there, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was 3 ultimates right there for Factor X. You'll gladly take, because right now, the other side probably doesn't have a lot of ultimates either, and we gotta pause as Dystopia. Unfortunately, I think they DC'd here. But, I mean, again, this is a little bit back and forth, as kind of what we saw on the first map. It seems like Factor X kind of always has the go-to out the gate with how they want to play, while Garfo, it takes them really a fight to get going here. And I like that we're seeing League Tech come out with the Vendetta. We're starting to see maybe the pluses and minuses of it. I think playing it with Diva or Zarya is probably the way to go. And I think so far, Godhans has been doing a really good job of kind of coordinating those dives with League Tech. But the times you've seen League Tech get a little bit over-aggressive with it is the times you've seen League Tech be the first one to die here. But I mean, you only have League Tech's ultimate ready right now for Garfo. You're not that far away from a Kitsune Rush from Capium, which you're going to need to build up to that pretty fast here. You cannot afford to have your Kiri fall here first if you're Garfo, or else it might just be the map.
Yeah, it honestly just might be. We'll see what happens here momentarily as it looks like we do have Sophia back ready to go, but League Tech will go down as a result, 80+%. I mean, Volition just needs to hit a good freeze here, and that could genuinely be it here. So it's really going to be on the Diva here to potentially just eat that or just avoid it entirely.
I mean, if you're Volition, just throw the Blizzard right in the choke. I mean, it's going to force Garfo just to run around to another one, which they will not have the time to do anything with.
Yeah, 100%, and we're going to see the first ultimate from the Vendetta here. In a couple of seconds, it is set in place. Diego in a weird spot. It's going to go down. Volition going to get caught out here. It's going to turn things around in the best way possible, as this thing going to be heading over to a 99.99. But you have the reset as Lake Tat, buddy, pal.
Lake Tat.
Do we have to have a conversation?
That has to be a mistake. That has to be a mistake. Diego and Chains are still right here, and you also see DM and the rest of the Factor X squad on their way back. I mean, they're going to get the point flip here for free. And God, Hanzo swapping over to the Wrecking Ball. No point flip just yet. Again, a little bit of, I think, mistakes coming up from both sides, but Factor X does control the point here for the moment.
Yeah, we'll see. You eventually are going to be able to get back over on the ball to cause a lot of stall here, but Freeze is being used. The ball gets hit with it. And now it's just bodies throwing themselves on one after another. Dystopia trying to change this one around. But the pop, no! Everything and everyone is going off the edge here today. And while there is a lot being done by Dystopia, the numbers game is unfortunately going to be playing its factor, as Factor X is going to take this first one away. It was close, but I mean, you can't say any other way. Devastating mistakes made at the end there.
Devastating mistakes. I think it can really go back to the point where we did see Dystopia DC. I think that was a very unfortunate time, as almost any DC is, for them to come back into that map there, because you could see Garfo trying to set up to go back in and really have a good fight going their way. I think Dystopia was not that far away from a Bob, so they could have had that ready to go, but an unfortunate kind of play there for them. But hey, that doesn't necessarily ruin the map for them. They were able to get control, but Lake Tat falling off, we kept on seeing just the tank there for Garfo just say, hey, I'm just going to jump off the map whenever I get demec'd. And the 2 times they did that, their team had to give up point for free. I understand playing Diva, you want to try to remech as fast as you can, but when the fight ends and you're still alive in Baby Diva form, I think sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and just try to hit as many pop shots as you can very, very quickly to get back in that mech, because I think it might be faster sometimes than just respawning.
Yeah, unfortunately, it very much is a lot of the time. Unfortunate situation, but to be fair, it doesn't end up being a one-sided affair. That's the big bright side we can kind of draw from this whole thing, is that I feel like this could be a very back-and-forth game between the squads. It's some very unfortunate mistakes to happen for both sides, in all honesty. But to be fair, at least in terms of what we have with Vendetta, it is still very early on. There is no one who is the complete expert that can play that character to 110%, like you can with something like a Tracer, or even more modern times like with a Sojourn, or even a Venture at this stage. So funny things are going to happen from time to time. But we'll see how much that's going to carry over, as we know our second map, Dorado, is the choice, and the Diva has been taken away here, which I don't hate. Diva can be very effective, and at the end of the day, that's going to open the door for Winston and potentially a Wrecking Ball that we did see, but, potentially just for the stall.
This is also Diva being taken away by Garfo, who played Diva last map.
Mm-hmm.
So a very interesting thing, we've seen this happen a couple times, I think in both across South America and North America, where teams will ban out a tank they were playing the last map for a map that maybe they expect the other team to have a little bit of a better tank player with, and that could be the case here. Like you said, Winston definitely an option now, or it might just be Garfo feels very confident, maybe just running out here with a brawl composition on this map, especially with Sim TPs being a really strong strategy right now. You could see that be the case. Second ban is in. We'll figure that out once we get there. But Hunter, we have a little bit of time here before our next map. What do you necessarily think that that Garfo needs to do here?
I think the biggest thing they need to do, and I use this phrase a lot, but I say it because it is a very important phrase, it is consistency. It is having that consistency in a lot of these fights. And I think they found a lot of difficulty being successful and being consistent because I think there was some weird matchups. I think D.Va is a very effective character, but going to that Ramattra, it is really tough to deal with, especially if you're using something like a Continued Rush, where you're going to take a very head-on encounter, and it can be really difficult to deal with that. So I think in this situation, they need to try to find consistency, and that can come from just being a team that's more aggressive, maybe a team that's being a little more passive and more reactive. It is basically about just finding a good level of consistency, and once you find that consistent, that's going to begin to crack Factor X. That's when you can really drill in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. But Factor X, I mean, you talked about there with consistency. I think Factor X, throughout every fight we saw, they're very consistent. It looks like they had a smart game plan going into it. We never necessarily saw anyone maybe playing a little bit too aggressive, overstepping their boundaries, the off angles. Everyone was playing smart. Everyone was really playing around that Ramattra as well, which is very, very fun to see, because a lot of times you normally see sometimes Ramatras just like to go off on their own and, try to knock the lights out of the other team. And sometimes it works, most times it doesn't, but Factor X did a really good job there that last map. But Hunter, how about you talk about right now what we're doing throughout this week?
Yeah, so what we're doing throughout this week, ladies and gentlemen, we are raising money for a good program called Toys for Tots, which has existed, by the way, for nearly 70 years now. I should say nearly 80 years. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? This is something that I worked on this is something I worked on way back in 2014, back when I was a junior in high school, where I was doing video production at a good old career center. I was learning, I was having a lot of fun, and we got to make a commercial specifically for a charity drive for Toys for Tots, and that was a lot of fun. It's a program that, for reasons like that, is very near and dear to my heart, and I decided, hey, this is a good idea. It's the Christmas season. And while this is a charity that is year-round, that you're able to participate in pretty much any time of the year, it's a really important time because obviously there are a lot of families out there that aren't able to, have themselves a great Christmas, and it's no fault of their own. It is a rough time in the world that we live in. It's easy to say that for any time period we live in, but it is especially now where it is that got put on hold, where it could be a bit of a difficult thing to deal with. So basically, this is to just help families, whether it is with food, whether it is with toys, presents. They do a lot of great toy drives, but in this situation, we're specifically hoping to donate some money to be able to aid as many families as possible. So it's a good cause, it's a very worthy cause, and it's one that I'm happy to be represented here today.
Yeah, so if you can, Hunter's put the link in the stream already. I believe it is the pinned comment as well. If you want to donate, you can through that pinned comment right there. Hunter, this is also gonna be a little bit of a test for you here, because Factor X, they did put their ban in. Vendetta was the ban. Do you have the portrait?
I think so. My theory is they saw what Ligtat did. They thought it was so hilarious, and they just didn't want to see it again. Which, to be fair, in a very real answer, Vendetta is a character that is a serious threat right now. Not specifically because she is some super overpowered DPS, and that is obviously a debate to have, but it's more the fact that she's still very new. Teams are still dealing or figure out how to deal with it. Because while we have seen, Vendetta be played in quick play and a little bit of competitive already, we haven't seen her in an actual full-on team environment up until this moment right now. I'm pretty sure you agree here, this is our first time casting Vendetta specifically, so this is not only new to us, but for a lot of these players in a full-on team environment, it's new as well.
Yeah, Vendetta's only been out for, a little over 2 weeks at this point?
Yeah.
So a lot of people are still trying to figure out, is this going to be a good hero in the long run? Is it broken right now? Is she strong right now? I think for me and you, do we know what every ability is called? I mean, there's a lot of stuff right now that goes into the Vendetta. You know what? I honestly think that at this point, DM's name might actually be useless propaganda.
Yeah, that is twice in a row. To be fair, there is a real chance that is the case, honestly. I might do some research, but it wouldn't really surprise me if that was the case.
Yeah, but let's look at the two teams right now. Looks like we're gonna have Gusagabo coming in here now for God Hanzo on the side of Garfo here. And Gusagabo might be a little bit more of a dive-oriented tank player coming out here. And you already see them on the Doomfist, so that might be one other reason why you're seeing the D.Va being banned out here by them. Weren't going to play it anyway. You want to get rid of something that maybe gives a Doomfist a little bit of pressure. That is something that D.Va can absolutely do. But right now, outside of that, you... Marcel hit the Bionade. The change.
Oh my god.
But outside that, you do see for Factor X, the Winston coming out, like you said, that was something we really expected to see from them. But other than that, Diego and Dystopia, this is going to be something that's going to be really fun to watch. I thought Dystopia, especially on that second point last map, had an excellent showing on the Ashe. Even though they were put into very, I think, unfavorable spots for Ashe, they were still able to do a lot.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the situation. So we'll see how things are going to go down here. Gusagabo over on that Doomfist can be very effective, especially he was DM super early on, and now the door is just going to close just like that. Diego's in a really rough situation. He's going to get pressured. Still alive, though, so everyone should be able to regroup, but this is a comp that can result in a lot of aggression here for Garfo.
Absolutely. And honestly, if Gusagabo keeps spamming the voice line, I might have an injury. But Marcel finding Chained out early is huge, because Chained was someone who did a lot for Factor X last map early on in play. It's getting rid of someone, especially the Ana, pretty early in this engagement, gives your team such a great advantage.
100% it does, and Gusagabo still has that full power punch and is going to be able to go into this room. Gonna get stunned out momentarily. Everyone in a rough situation. Gusagabo does go down first and foremost, though, and everybody in a bit of an awkward situation. Marcel able to finish things off on Volition. It's going to reopen that door potentially. Everyone is still hanging around, by the way. This fight is not nearly over quite yet, but with this kill over onto Marcel, that should put a stop for now.
Yeah, it's really bad at that moment right there, because Marcel now gets staggered out. Gusagabo came back in. They were ready to really get back into this fight quickly. Latex going to be able to escape with their life, but it seems like Garfo really wants to kind of push the aggression, even down one member at the moment, especially with Gusagabo on this Doomfist. You can do that because they have that get out of jail free tool with both the jump and the punch. But that's a huge punch right there.
100% it is right now. Rally, though, is ready to go 4-for-8 right now. Got to focus on keeping DM alive. Bit of a rough scenario. Is going to get punched back. Bob activated by Dystopia. A little bit of added pressure. Someone's got to eventually get over on this point. And unfortunately, while Frank is going to pop this rally, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to really hold on to the situation. It should be able to stall a little while longer, but stall is definitely going to be the name of the game here. Eventually, deleted on the spot. First cap does come through here for Garfo, as look for a little bit more cleanup as Change trying to get out alive. He's not going to do so, though.
They'll accept their death right there, but I'm going to say one thing with that last fight. There was a brief moment there where the Bob was not going to find much value. Faceit actually whip shot the Bob back into the open, making it have a lot more value. It found Volition, got rid of DM, and really put Faceit into a spot where they couldn't do anything with their own rally. So a little bit of a mistake there by Factor X leads to only Garfo's gain, and now you already see Gusagabo just pushing up, trying to keep control of it. Gonna eventually have to dive back out, as you already see DM diving right back in.
100% a lot already available. Late tag gonna have this blade at the ready. It will be a little tough to use, but you have a potential nano blade coming on a little bit later. But for the time being, DM is gonna let loose here with that primal rage. Isn't gonna end up finding a whole lot here. In fact, he's just gonna have to get out of dodge very quickly, but this is gonna open up the door. You no longer have to worry about a primal rage, and if you're Dystopia and Diego, you're just trying to have a good time of it on the Ashe. As Litat being down, that blade is gonna have to be ulted for the time being.
Again, Dystopia on this Ashe, Dystopia on any hit skin might just be very, very scary. You have to always kind of know where they are and according to where you are as well. Gusagabo, though, just focusing straight in on DM here, and you look at the ultimates coming online for Garfo, they're in a really good spot, but the Nano out on the DM.
Yep, trying to get a little bit of pressure. Nobody quite in a position to really take it down. DM can't really dive into that 3v1 situation, but here we go. Door gonna be opened up. We see the blade coming alive. Gusagabo. Both Gusagabo and Ligtad both ended up going for DM. Take care of business. Diego throws out that Bob. It's going to cause a little bit of disruption. It is a bit of an awkward space. Finds the double tap over on the Capium right there, and that should slow down this fight, as Gusagabo is just going to have to back out for now.
I mean, ever since that little mistake on the first point, I think Factor X really solidified this defense here. Even with Gusagabo really applying a lot of pressure. Dystopia still hitting shot after shot, but you're starting to see Diego find the off angles as well, find a lot of value there. You still have 2 ultimates online right now for Factor X, but you're walking into 3 on the other side, especially another Bob coming out here from Dystopia, which, if it's put into a really good spot, could just be the point here for Garfo.
Yep, Bullishin really close to going down, trying to survive. Gonna go for that blade. They're gonna get a nice bounce. Still has the slash and the dash ready, but unfortunately, just have to focus on staying alive instead. Bullishin literally at 5 health is eventually gonna be taken down here. Lictat hoping to keep clearing things up. There's a lot available in this situation. If you are Garfo, you need to be able to capitalize at that point. Still slowly etching forward. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get much of a reasonable toucher except for DM, but DM currently has nothing. That Nano too far away. Primal Rage a little too far away. You have every tool in the universe available if you're Garfo, and you're not going to need a single one of them.
Yeah, we talked about 3 ultimates for Garfo coming into that fight. They didn't use any, and now they put themselves into a really, really good spot here. Change and DM going to be the only 2 with ultimates ready on the side of Factor X here. Garfo could just try to play very fast here, try to make sure they force out those ultimates early on, and you already see Gusagabo just playing up there. Lictat not that far away with the pulse bomb ready. You might be seeing a couple ultimates come out here really before a fight starts, but if Dystopia can hit shots like that, it won't matter.
It just straight up will not. Change also gets really low, is able to kind of stay hidden away, but Nano eventually be thrown over on the DM, trying to run things down. Bob is being used in here, and I imagine DM is probably going to double down here momentarily. Yeah, it's going to double down, try to get rid of somebody. Everybody going to be forced around. That basically is a 2-for-1 ult trade ultimately. And to be fair, with Change down, this is not favoring Factor X at all.
Right now, Gusagabo goes into that backline, going to be able to find Diego, and this is exactly what I said Garfo should do here. Play fast, force out those ultimates pretty early there from Factor X, and that's exactly what happened here. Yeah, you used 3 of your own, but guess what? You still have 2 in your back pocket.
Oh, no.
And Dystopia disconnected again!
Buddy, pal, you can't keep doing this.
At least they use Bob, so they're not losing an ultimate, but this kills whatever momentum that Garfo had now, especially because... Please tell me it wasn't them who got the title blast.
No, Lictat got it. Lictat has it.
Lictat got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like Dystopia's back, so we'll be going in here momentarily, but if you're Garfo, you needed a Dystopia in this fight because there's no ultimates ready on the other side right now for Factor X, but there are some that are about to be ready. And with this investment now for Marcel, you're basically saying Capium needs to also invest the Kitsune Rush just this moment to try to complete this map.
Yeah, and it's not an easy task whatsoever. It's going to be difficult. We know that true and true. But still, you have 2 minutes on the clock. You're still going to have a Kitsune Rush available, but the problem is you have Factor X building up to so much here in these next couple of fights. If they're able to kind of stagger them out nicely, it could work out beautifully. But Lictat, not quite ready to let this fight go, unfortunately, is being forced to, as they're sent back to the spawn room, as, yeah, you're just going to have to see Garfo give up a little bit of space here right now. You do see Gusagabo more than willing to stay aggressive, though.
Well, yeah, because it was DM almost dead right there. They're trying to get rid of the Winston here, because that opens up so much. Diego farting Marcel out should just force Garfo to fall back here, but no, they're going to keep the pedal to the metal here. They do not want to let this go.
No, I mean, if you can force it in here, 100%, go for it. Dystopia has been taken down once again. You see that deep dive. Unfortunately, I mean, no one's really able to help out Gusagabo here, so he's going to try to get out alive. It's going to be really difficult, but should be able to do so. But now a minute on the clock here. Gusagabo, I mean, just doesn't let up at all, by the way. Oh, no. Well,
they're going to have to let up. They're going to be forced to let up right there. And I think that was the worst case scenario there for Garfo. You only got 1 ultimate out from the other side. You still have a Bob. You still have a rally. And you only have your own Kitsune Rush. Yeah, Gusagabo could build up to their own Meteor Strike and a Pulse Bomb from Lictat. But you need that this fight. Because you have maybe 1 more fight after this one if you lose it or win it pretty fast.
Yeah, 100%. See how this fight goes. Bob is at the ready. Diego forced him to the corner. Doesn't end up being able to get it out in time because you have a massive headshot coming in from Dystopia. Shut it down. Rally ended up being used here by Faceit. Is to be forced to the corner more and more. Eventually going to be shut down. This fight could end up going the way of Garfo after all. They use almost everything that they have. Change the less Kitsune Rush. It's going to barely come out in time. Bob has to be used here, bringing pressure over on the point. DM alive, 90%. Having this ult at the ready, but everyone's dying one at a time, forced away. It's just Gusagabo there for a little bit more stall. Overtime activated, but it's gonna mean nothing. Diego with 3 to finish it off. And despite all that has happened, they'll be able to hold on just by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah, and it gives Factor X a winning condition here where at times this map it seems like Garfo had them figured out. I mean, Garfo looked a lot better than what we saw on the first map, even though that ended 2-0, and when we'd said it was a little bit of a close map, it definitely seemed like Factor X had a little bit of a better idea of how they wanted to play that first map. This time around, remember, it is Garfo that brings us to this map. They ban out the D.Va, something that they played in our first map. They sub in a different tank with Gusagabo coming in and playing that Doomfist. And Hunter, you know how I feel about Doomfist. It's a tank that if your tank player knows how to play Doomfist really good, it's going to open up so much for your team. And that's what Gusagabo is able to do here for this Garfo team. On the other side, it took a little bit, but you started to see Diego, you started to see Volition really start to pick it up there. It took to the third point, but they finally started to get something going there. I think that's the main reason why you saw Factor X be able to, hold them there from completing the map. Also, you could say, Dystopia disconnecting hurt Garfo in a spot where maybe they were considering a little bit of a heavier investment, but that's here or there at this point.
100%. We'll see what the situation is. Ligtad could be playing around just a wee bit. Actually, it's not. They're not playing around. Ligtad, I guess, is just hoping to potentially just jump DM here. And plus, you're able to play really well on some of this first point with the Reaper. I don't see it going longer than that if it does get pushed on further than that. But for the time being, DM could be in for a very rude awakening if they dive up here.
And I think with Gusagabo diving onto that low ground, there they go. They actually take the bait jumping on that high ground, but it's going to be Gusagabo who punches DM off. And Ligtat, I think, was showing a little bit of their displeasure right there.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a rough spot right now for Ligtat. Rough position. Is going to get booped up in the air. Nearly finds the finish on Diego anyway. He's going to be able to get out of there alive. But still, Gusagabo was able to help kind of stall that point a little while longer. But I love the position everybody's taking. Everybody's playing safe over on the side of Factor X. They know that Gusagabo is going to be the aggressor 10 times out of 10. You don't have much of a reason to have to initiate until Gusagabo puts themselves in a very uncomfortable position.
And right now, the only person that Gusagabo is putting into an uncomfortable position is their own team. Ligtech can be able to clean up 2. Marcel finds the 3rd. And now, if you're Factor X, you're going back to the drawing board here. A regrouping spawn is needed. Diego going to be just staggered out there, and you already see DM swapping over to the Orisa. They do not want to deal with this Doomfist. I like the pick here, but still, you leave Ligtat such a great opportunity to find so much value with such a huge hitbox. 2 shotguns. Man, they're living in heaven right now.
100%. Already a minute and a half is gone. You see the transition over to the Orisa, which is extremely interesting, but Ligtat is still taking bodies left and right, taking care of Volition. I mean, Gusagabo is just constantly stalling this point out, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. It feels like this is a situation where you have to eventually force your way onto the high ground, or get rid of Ligtat. You get rid of one of the factors here that's been stopping you from making any level of progress as the current slowly starts to control.
I mean, right now you're seeing Marcel play this Wu Yang. We haven't talked about it enough, but they've been getting so much damage. They're really forcing they're really kind of preventing what was a force there coming out from Factor X onto that high ground. Just force them back. They're just normal left click was doing enough right there. And now, I think where this comp will shine for Garfo is right here, this choke. Doomfist and Reaper are going to be able to find so much, especially that DPS line as well.
Yeah, 100% full spell. Not able to find a whole lot here, and even if it did, I can't say it would have opened up the door too much. Now, minute and a half left here. Full ults available here. It's such a rough road right now if you're Factor X.
Yeah, Volition used their pulse ball in that last fight, hoping to find something that opened the door, but there was nothing there. That right there, though, Hunter, that's a door opener, but you need to play fast now.
Yeah, you have to absolutely here. See the Nano over on the Gusagabo. Wants to try to find a little something. Hasn't really yet. It's getting forced around. Sitting super low. Has to invest to be able to get a ton of that health back. He's going to be able to re-engage here. Going to try to bid a wall. Unfortunately, doesn't get a whole lot there. I really should say no one is able to really punish Gusagabo as they come back out of that meteor strike. And now, minute left on the board. Everybody's forced back as DM just has to hide away with the rest of their squad.
Garfo is playing this defense around perfectly here. because there's no dive tank on the other side, they're still playing that initial high ground. You see Volix now going for the Echo to try to prevent that here a little bit, but you're going to eventually just see Garfo just rotate back towards the second, or towards really the first point is where you see a lot of defense teams hold once the team gets to the choke. And right now, again, Gusugobo on this Doomfist is doing exactly what you want to do, drawing all the attention in the world while allowing your DPS line to have free reign to do whatever they want.
Oh, 100%. Now you got 20 seconds left. That Bob was your last hope right there. You're going to have Ligtat around the corner here. This is a threatening thing to have. You're going to go in. You're trying to move people away. Going to try to go in. Getting out of that situation is looking for Ligtat. I know they want to pull the trigger here, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't even know if it's even really going to be needed. They're cleaning up big time. A little bit ahead over on Ligtat, who is, yeah, no one's going to be able to touch at the end of the day. So, Garfo takes this one away. I mean, as successfully as you can do it, by the way. That was an excellent defensive hold.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of thought Factor X was coming into the map a little bit on the defense side, able to stop Garfo there. Again, a little bit of a fortunate disconnect there from Dystopia as they were pushing through third point, but when the side swapped and it was up to Garfo to be on defense, they looked incredible. The Doomfist was doing everything you really wanted to do there. It was holding the cart, like you said, it held the cart for the longest time on its own for about a minute and a half before eventually started to see Garfo rotate back to the choke. And then you saw Ligtat come alive. You saw Dystopia come alive. That support line as well. I talked about it there for a moment. Marcel on that Wu Yang. Saw a little bit on the first round, their attacking round. Saw a lot there on that defensive round as well. They were preventing a lot of attempts to try to rush that high ground by themselves, by the way. Yeah, you had Dystopia up there from time to time throwing in a dynamite, but just the orb there from the Wu Yang stopped what could have been a couple good pushes by Factor X on that high ground.
Yeah, 100%. I love the way it was shut down so consistently in this situation where it never felt like you were able to get a single clean fight out being Factor X. And this Factor X squad who was able to get away with a lot of that in that first round, but you go over to this dive situation, you bring in Gusugobo, who just pretty much shuts down anything that is attempted in this situation. And the biggest thing of it, Dex, it is all of that aggression. Doom is one of those characters that can get away with a lot of that aggression as well, and Gusugobo got away with it so frequently, was able to pretty much stop that cart from moving whatsoever, was pretty much able to handle like a 3v1 in a lot of situations. Just all you have to do as a tank in that defensive situation is stay alive and stall at the cart, and Gusugobo, with the help of their team, was able to do both of those very successfully.
Yeah, I mean, there were times where, because I'm in free cam, I was able to watch the Gusugobo control the Doomfist. You can tell this is someone who completely understands how to play Doomfist at a very high level. Got themselves out of sticky situations multiple times, not only with their ultimate, but there's a time where they were being almost forced off the map. They actually jumped off the map with their ability and then were able to punch themselves over a roof to get back into a fight. It was really, really fun to see because you saw how much focus that Factor X was putting on to them. Two heroes and another one kind of just checking it every now and then. And like I said, because you had Gusugobo on that Doomfist, it allowed your DPS line there to really get going. Dystopia and Ligtat, a really, really good round for them there. Because of the disconnect, I don't know how many kills Dystopia had, but Ligtat had 23, the most in the lobby that last map.
Yeah, it was incredibly impressive, everything we were able to see from that squad. I mean, I kind of want to look at these stats really quick while we have a quick second before everybody gets in. We're just waiting on Faceit right now as I click on round 2 this time. I'm smarty pants. I mean, looking at the Factor X numbers, like from looking at some of these numbers, at least elimination-wise, it was very back and forth, but you just see a very specific level of consistency. I mean, you look at the damage, by the way. The fact that Gusugobo managed to put up like over 13,000. On the other side, I'm pretty sure that is, I forget who DAW specifically is. I need to double check because the names are all
Diego. That's Diego.
Yeah, you're right, Diego. Diego, who was extremely consistent over on that Ashe as well. Mm-hmm. And to be fair, we expect that out of Diego. We have seen Diego be very consistent every time we have seen them. It isn't always like the stand out, but it's always very consistent and gets the job done. Does go down 9 times at the end of the day, but I think was still a very key member of the reason they were able to win certain fights in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like I kind of mentioned going into that map, but since it was going to be a very dive-heavy map, hit scans do play a big part. It was going to be really interesting to see that battle between Diego and Dystopia there, and I thought it was pretty even for the most parts there. Yeah, there were moments where Dystopia had the edge, then it was Diego. But going into our third map of the series, it's hey, not gonna be a final map. We have ourselves a series on our hands. Our bans will be Doomfist and Cassidy. And I feel like the Doomfist might be a little bit of an overreaction here, but it does bring back in. It does bring back in God Hanzo. I keep switching sides. It does bring back in God Hanzo, and I think we can finally, figure out if DM is using streamer mode. I believe they are. I believe they are now. Juno.
Yeah, that pretty much solidifies it right then and there. Which, hey, love to see it. I could just keep calling them DM, and we cannot be wrong. But ready to get this one set out, and listen, I'm just saying, we go to the Junker Queen map. We have 2 Junker Queens right now. I could not be a happier man. I'm just happy. I'm just happy. But
you ready to have your heart broken?
Probably. I imagine God Hanzo's gonna probably scream me at the last second. Go Diva. I can see it happening. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, but outside of that, though, you see LigTad showing us Adventure. Remember, Venture was banned out map 1. So not necessarily a big surprise to see them play this on this map. I think Venture finds a lot of value on this map. The points, in particular, especially some of the sub points after this first one where you're needing to get up to a high ground. I think Venture does that. But hey, no heartbreak tonight here, Hunter. Junker Queen's coming out for both sides. But I like the difference for both sides here. Yeah, it only is your flex DPS, Genji for Factor X, Venture for Garfo. I like it though. It shows a little bit of a different playstyle. Garfo wants to get in your face, but this is how Factor X got started on map 100. Change, buying the first pick on the leg tag.
Yeah, that is a rough person to lose super early on here. If you're God Hanzo, you want to be able to try to follow up best you can. Unfortunately, you're just going to see them be forced out. They're going to basically surrender this first point. And to be fair, I don't blame them. You lose leg tag that early on, you almost have to in some situations.
Yeah, I like the difference we're seeing here from Garfo. In the first map, they would normally stay in fights after they lost one person back out. You need to regroup here, but I like the kind of coordinate plays coming out as they already get rid of DM.
Yeah, 100%. You're keeping that consistency up right now. Ligtat gets rid of it. Now they're able to hunt bodies down. A couple more remaining. Volition does get rid of God Hanzo on the way out, but she'll be able to get back in time for the next fight as 33% only on the board as Garfo take over.
Yeah, and LigTat was a huge part of that fight, so the fallback there for Garfo was huge. Now, though, if your Factor X coming back in, no ultimates ready for either side. Capium should actually be able to get their ultimate up here first, but I like what we're seeing here from Garfo. Pushing the boundaries a little bit, not afraid to poke up, especially if you're LigTat. You have the get out of jail free card with the burrow, but you just have to make sure you get into the ground before they put you into the ground permanently right now. And it looks like Chuno or DM gonna be the one trying to frontline this a little bit while it's actually Volition and Faceit on the offense.
Yeah, and for Chuno or God Hanzo, it's about finding that perfect map early on, but Marcel instead shuts down Volition. He's gonna die for those things, unfortunately, but you don't need that trade out at the end of the day, you know? It sucks to lose Volition super early on. LigTat needs a little bit of care as well, but for the time being, no one else is going down. There's not a whole lot of pressure you're really getting out of Factor X right now, as they're gonna try to speed to the outside, try to find Dystopia, call it out, but it's gonna drop below and get out of Elvis.
There, that was almost a good play there. Volition came back in late, but Diego, again, you need your hit scan to pop off here early on. The rampage up from God Hanzo lands on 3.
Ooh, Dystopia again having themselves a good one right now. Eventually going to clear house. First point headed over to Garfo. It is a back and forth one for Factor X, but unfortunately, I mean, Dystopia has been on it right now with that Sojourn.
Yeah, and I love the investment there by Garfo, investing 2 ultimates into that one. Actually, yeah, no, 2. To win that fight and that point, I don't think without those investments there, they win the fight, and I don't think they end up winning the point either. I think once Factor X got back in control, it would be very difficult for Garfo to get back going here. But now, if you're Factor X, look at what you have coming up here. Basically, all 5 ultimates. Garfo, though, you got rid of, I think, your strongest ultimate on your side with that Rampage. You're going to have to hope to beat from Marshmallow's huge, but LigTat on this venture has been a difference maker so far.
Yeah, it has been so tough to deal with here. I mean, LigTat's always tough to deal with right now. It's just sending into this back line for X super low. Chuno, though, is going to go for the investment here. Managed to get rid of God Hanzo as a result. That point trying to slowly flip over right now, but Chuno in a rough situation. Doesn't have anybody to get some of that health skill off of. And Trey's trying to go back and forth. Chuno hoping to find something, but Diego finishes off another. Dystopia is going to try to make the way back, but has to take the reset instead. Factor X takes a very back and forth fight.
Very back and forth fight. 2 ultimates invested there by Factor X, only 1 invested by Garfo. But I think if you're Factor X, you're okay with that. You still have the ult lead at the moment, or the ult economy looks better for you. You still have a beat, they have a beat as well, but you have both your Blade and your Overclock. The beat will come out for Garfo when one of those ultimates gets popped on their side. You already see them investing with the Consumer Rush. They want to try to get a free point flip here fast, and Factor X almost allows them to.
Yeah, you have to force your way in right now. If you are, beat gonna be expended. Marcel more than happy to invest directly back. Volshin did not get caught with it though, so it's super low. And Licktad, even being caught with it, is still super low, but point gonna flip over in this situation. Garfo able to take over, but here comes the big play from Volshin, getting booped away, still able to get rid of one. Trying to get rid of another, hopefully. Manages to slice guys, gets super close to getting rid of the next two. Capium super low. Point still going to flip over here, so let's take a quick little reset.
Yeah, and Volition, the Blade only finding 2, right, or 1, but it caused so much distraction there. It caused Garfo just to fall back, and the only one who was really still pushed up was Licktad, who died almost immediately after that. So great play there by Volition. Even though you found 1, you found a lot more value just by drawing attention away there. And now you're in Final Fight territory. Yeah, Dystopia will have the Overclock ready to go here.
And no, you
Never mind, they won't have the Overclock ready to go here. Oh, this is unfortunate. At this point, it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way to put it than just simply being unfortunate, because you're about to have the overclock in here. You have nothing in response right now if you are Factor X, and Dystopia has been very consistent so far. So this is really unfortunate, but the question is, what do you really do here? You're about to be in a situation where you're basically walking into a 4v5. Do you even take the 4v5? Because if the thing is, obviously this is hindsight with us knowing where the ult charges are at. If you go into this fight, and even if you don't invest anything, you're going to probably feed Change and Chuno their ultimates, more than likely.
Yeah, you're gonna feed Change and DM their ultimates here, but I mean, God, Hanzo, Licktad, not that far away from their own ultimates as well, so you could still see Garfo stay in this fight and just try to keep it going, hoping that you do get Dystopia back. Yeah, they won't have their own ultimate ready to go, but if you can get something going towards point, or a pick like you did right there on the Volition, you have an opportunity.
Yeah, Licktad will be the first touch right here. Trying to fight something over on the Chuno, who is taking a ton of damage. Eventually has to shout to stay alive. Hanzo has one right around the corner as well. Licktad's going to be great to be able to stall things out for some time. He's going to be chased out, though. Diego does die as a result of that. Chuno's in a rough situation, but you can't invest anything. You see the cleanse, and immediately the investment. Chuno, Frick, both end up getting hit. Both are going to end up going down. Beautiful fight win there. They make the 4v5 work.
And that's what I thought we would see coming out there. All you need was the one pick, and Licktad was able to find there onto Diego to get that entire thing started. That gave Garfo the kind of point pressure they needed there. Chuno DM tried to do what they could, but I think it was just an excellent kind of read there by God Hanzo. They waited for that Suzu to come out. Once it came out, moment set, like it almost framed perfect. Hit that ult button, was able to find those 2 kills. Now they're in control, and they have the ultimates right now. Yeah, Chuno or DM has their own Rampage, and Change has their Consumer they're using right now. So another heavy ult fight coming in here as Licktad tries to do something going fast.
Yeah, and God Hanzo, again, gets the better of Chuno. This point seemingly going to be in place here of Garfo. They will be able to take it over to map point. But still, there is a lot available, and especially so is that Rampage gonna be ready for Chuno.
Back and forth,
oh, no.
Back and forth. Hey, I mean, you need that right here if you're... Okay, I was going to say, you need that right there if you're Garfo, because you're not going to have the ultimate advantage coming into this next point, but you lose Licktad. However, because of that death, that bought you time. Licktad's going to be able to get back into the picture here by the time you see Factor X engaging into a fight here. They still have their Rampage. Diego has their Overclock. You have your Consumer Rush here, so if you use it wisely and focus in on someone like Diego, once they pop that Overclock, if you use your Consumer Rush at the same time, you should be able to basically cancel that ultimate out pretty early on here. But you see Factor X, they're staging, they're trying to find a way in here, but Licktad doing a good job on the far side of the map, just slowing down their off-angle push.
100%. Volition gets rid of Licktad. There is a cap for the time being for Garfo, but everybody's so low. You could consider the rest here, but I think it'd be such a massive risk not having Licktad in the fight. But if Chuno goes down, I mean, hey, more power to you, but here comes the investment. Kitsune Rush has been used. Change doesn't have theirs online, but they have every ultimate on the forward. Diego getting rid of Dystopia is going to make things even more difficult to pull out here. Chuno just has to be able to stay alive. Does so successfully. Cleanse has been used, but nothing else is going to have to be used. And there is the investment still. Marcel is going to die as a result here. You would have loved to have held on to this, though.
You would have loved to, but guess who's still holding on to the point at the moment? That's Garfo. Garfo's doing a really good job staggering this out. It seems like Linktat should be able to stagger out a little bit more if you're Dystopia, though just back out. This necessarily isn't going to go much further than this. However, 70% Dystopia fighting changed out. Linktat's going to be able to come back into this one pretty quickly, and someone's actually going to have to go back and act as a taxi here for change. Even though you're pretty even on ultimates right now, you're going to see Garfo just come back in, and I think they're going to get a point for free. Juno might just have to give it to them as both overclocks out onto the field.
Yeah, we'll try to find a little something beat us back here. Marcel holds on to theirs, but God also goes down. And now you have no way of flipping this over. You've used just about everything that you have available. Linktat's, I mean, gonna have the Tectonic Shock around the corner, but he is probably just gonna come down to God Hanzo here to time that Rampage correctly.
I mean, the Rampage, especially if it comes out as Volition, pops the Blade, might just be enough to slow down the Blade there from Volition. Linktat has their Tectonic Shock ready to go, and you already see them trying to get in this off-angle position right now. They're actually in a really good spot. I don't know if our Factorex knows where they are.
Not quite, but here we go, trying to cut and dice through. Volition able to get rid of one, doesn't get rid of a second, but it does cause for things to be rough. Linktat's down, and you would love to invest here in this situation, but I don't think going in's worthwhile at this stage of the game. You can try to force your way on, but this is such a rough fight to have to win. Rampage goes through for Ick. Only one not caught with the cleanse is being taken down. Shino giving a little bit of pressure, but Gahanzo's job is literally right now just to stay alive. Linktat eventually going to get their way back in. Is going to be able to help out with some of these assassinations. Diego especially, who's going to get rid of that slide, trying to stay alive, is going to be pressured soon, but Marcel gets taken out. Diego not going to pay for the crime, so instead gets rid of another one. As the cleanup is coming through, God Hanzo tries to find a little something, nothing to be found though. This point eventually going to have to be given up. Soviet trying their darndest, but will eventually be taken out, I imagine. As yeah, first point can be finally taken away here. Factorex keeping themselves in this.
Factorex just doing what they need to do there. Smart plays all around. And I don't hate the usage of the Rampage there by God Hanzo. I thought they had a good opportunity right there. They saw 4 members of Factorex in a tight area, but somehow, some way, all 4 of those members, other than I think it was 4A, was able to just dodge it. I mean, that could have been such a huge Rampage, a fight winner, and probably a map ender Rampage as well. But now, since everyone was able to dodge it, you see Factorex, they have their own Rampage, their own overclock. Not that far away from her, their own consider as well. Diego already popping the overclock.
Yeah, I don't hate it whatsoever. Once again, a little something, unfortunately, is only going to get sent back to the spawn room. Unfortunately, point open. Marcel and Galanzo both end up getting hit, and both of them more than likely to go down. Consider Rush is still available here for Capium, as the investment is still here. Dystopia wants to try to keep this one closed out, everybody hiding away. A lot of people under and around the point, but the thing is, you need to be able to regroup. If not, this could be a long stagger.
Diego, that's just mean what you did to Linktat right there. But still being able to find Volition, however, point will flip, but you're going to see Garfo come back in very, very quickly here. They have 3 ultimates of their own. You get up both your ultimates here if you're Factorex, but do you invest both of them into this fight?
Apparently you do. That's the answer right now. Linktat is still alive, still going to have that Tectonic Shock to get back in. And here comes that investment. Chino's the only one who ends up getting hit, ends up going down as a result. Linktat able to help clear everybody out. Marcel gets a couple there at the end, but eventually the stall will come toward its natural end. Only about 43% on the board here. This point has been extremely back and forth already.
I mean, that's been this entire map so far, back and forth and back and forth. It seemed we saw that same thing back in Nepal, even though that was a Factorex victory, and probably they looked overall better. You could start to see Garfo figuring them out here a little bit. I think Linktat on this venture, playing as aggressively as they are, especially with themselves in the backline and the Tectonic Shock ready to go here. Yeah, expect it to come out right now.
Yeah, everyone being forced back into an awkward area for Ick. Does still have still has the beat ready to go. Still want to be very careful with it, but right now Linktat is forcing everybody around. Freak almost hits the Ajax, by the way, incredibly close to going down, but now Marcel is going to have a beat waiting for the right moment to initiate, and there it is right there. Nobody going to be able to touch the point in time, though, so it's going to flip momentarily over to Factorex, but Diego is already down. Dystopia trying to find more and more victims as they're trying to clear out the house. Factorex doing a really good job of staying alive right now. Still, touch coming through at the very last second. Volition has got to be a hero with this blade. Dystopia being sliced away. Boop there, not available though. Dex that blade, not going to get a whole lot. The flip over. Marcel gonna find the finish, and God Hanzo's gonna try to shut this down. 4 with it. Dystopia trying to get more bodies, and even though it is the best ultimate we've probably seen on the board today, nobody dies from it. It's going to be match point here for Garfo.
Again, another good map here for Garfo. Everyone just on the same page. The one point they lost, it was back and forth, maybe a little bit of an overinvestment at times, but you could tell this Garfo team is not afraid to invest ultimates in fights where they're already down 1, especially when they have favorable spawns. We saw that a lot on that third point that they didn't end up losing. They're okay going in 4v5 because they knew they were going to get their members back pretty quickly there. Dystopia getting played the game here. They've had an excellent series throughout this night here. And I mean, same thing could easily be said for both teams. Honestly, they've been, or for both hit scans, Diego and Dystopia, they have been really, really fun to watch in this back and forth here. And the stats going to be a little bit skewed because of the disconnect, but still, after the disconnect, Dystopia had 23 elims. That's more than what Diego had the entire map.
Yeah, that is, it's utter insanity to still be able to pull that off despite the circumstances. Like, Dystopia has been a big player for the squad throughout the entire day so far. The DCs obviously have been extremely unfortunate, and obviously you can only hope that it's going to be, you know, some consistent internet from here on out. But I think it shows how close these two teams really are in this situation. So when you head into this next and potential final map, Runasapi, things are going to stay, I think, very high-paced. Obviously, all the bans are going to be taken out of rotation, which means you're going to get that Doomfist back in. But the question is, do you decide to bring back in Gustavo? Yeah, Gustavo. Despite the fact that you go in there and you win a relatively good New Junk City.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to give the tank there for Garfo a lot of credit for how they played God Hanzo, because you go back to map 1, and it seemed like they were really disconnected with how they were playing that Diva from their team. You saw Lake Tech come out on the Vendetta for the first time this season that we've seen, and they had a smart idea with the Diva, but it seemed like the Diva at times was a little bit more of a hindrance than an actual addition or an actual positive there for Garfo. You bring them back in this last map, they play the Junk Queen. It seems like they're a little bit more comfortable on that hero, and you see the difference there. I mean, they had an incredible map, almost 14,000 damage, over 4,000 healing for themselves. I mean, they did a really good job just playing that Queen. Runasapi could be our final map of the night here, but we have to remind everyone right now, Hunter, how important this map is, or how important this map is and this series is for Factor X. We talked about it last week a little bit when we were taking maybe a little bit of a too far look ahead at playoffs. You really cannot afford, I think, to have 5 losses, because I think that right there will be the cutoff. 4 losses, potentially 5. Factor X with a loss here tonight would go to 3-4 on the season, with only, I believe, after that, 3 more games in the new year, or the rest of this season.
Yeah, that's about right. Because remember, we are taking into account all the teams that got a bye already. So when we say a team is 3-3, that is taking that one bye into account. So realistically, it is more like 2-3. But everybody has it, so you kind of just have to count it as this. But you are correct about that. It is a really rough situation because they will only have those 3 more games to actually play, and from there, it is a tough hill. I don't know who exactly they're going to be able to go up against the situation. We could actually look really quick. We're waiting for a couple players to connect really quick, but Factor X, the rest of their schedule, the way things are right now, they have Truck Vlog, Fae Overwatch, Crazy Legion, and Element Heaven still waiting for them. I think most of those teams, not easy by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, absolutely here. So, I mean, if you're Factor X, you're looking for a victory here tonight, but this has been a very close series. I mean, we could easily have been a 3-0 sweep for Factor X, a 3-0 sweep for Garfo. These teams have been playing at a very high level. Both teams have had players absolutely pop off here, but Factor X, they need to bring back some consistency that we saw back on Nepal, where they were playing a really good Ramatra. I think you could definitely bring that back out here on Runasapi, especially with them banning out Orisa first, and then actually no, Orisa and Lucio are our bans here heading into Runasapi. So Doomfist definitely on the table here, and Gusugobo is coming back in, so Doomfist might be the name of the game for them, but we're gonna have to wait on that for a moment. But if you're Factor X, do you bring out the Ramatra? Do you bring out a Diva? Do you bring out potentially even a Zarya? I think that could be something we see here on this map. There's a lot of options for them. They just need to have some consistency. I think they need to get off to a good start, because I think them going back and forth with Garfo in a lot of these fights has kind of been okay for Garfo, because they know that they want to play aggressive, and losing a fight to them isn't necessarily the worst thing. They're just going to come back into the next fight as aggressive as before.
Yeah, 100% they are, and 100% they should. Right now, in the situation, if you are Garfo, you should have every bit of confidence in the world to go and just be aggressive right out the gate in this fight. With almost every single fight, you're going to be able to experiment. Yes, Gusgobo back over on that Doomfist. For the time being, we are seeing DM over on that Ramatra. I wouldn't hate the Ramatra, all things considered, but obviously, I think looking at most of that lineup, I feel like a lot of it is still probably going to change. But I think right now, that Garfo lineup is pretty honest.
Perlops.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Wait, they're walking out with it.
I mean, we've definitely have seen, I think even in this region, Torbs come out on this map, especially with having someone like Gusgobo in. I think it's going to apply a little bit more pressure to them when they're trying to get into that backline, because it's going to basically stop them for a brief moment here. Ligtat as well, just being able to burrow in, and once they come out of the ground, you already see Ligtat starting to get peppered by the turret. They recognize it's there and just have to get out.
Yeah, just has to. It's going to be really rough to deal with the entire time, but Dystopia gets their head taken off by Volition. It's as good of a start as you can hope for right here. Trying to get things started. If you are Factor X, you want to try to bring this over to a 5th map. If you can do so, but Ligtat more than happy to try to keep the aggression going. Gets rid of 2 already, and that should be enough to stem the bleeding of Dystopia being down.
I will say this, Ligtat and Gusgobo, the 2 maps we've seen them play, or the 1 map we saw them playing already early this map, they seem to be so in sync with each other with these dives and these punches. They're finding so much value there and causing so much chaos.
And Ligtat's been a force out the gate here so far. He's going to try to go in aggressive. Going to be able to dig under and, yeah, just get out of there alive. And now they're going to be able to get a ton of room here. Diego got to go over to that Cassidy that was previously banned. Volition also going to go to the May. They're going to abandon the Soj Tarp really early on.
Yeah, I just don't think it would find the value they were truly hoping for there. They need to win that first fight pretty dominantly. I think that Torb would have been able to set up a little bit better. The fact they only found 1 before they forced a little bit of a fall back there. But Gusgobo already just being, again, a menace.
Yeah, and they're having such difficulty dealing with this. And to be fair, you look back at that Doomfist ban, you would have loved to have had them here. But you're already 2 minutes in. Checkpoint's already activated. Diego, lucky to be out alive right now, as that card's going to keep trucking forward.
And right now, Diego going over to the Cassidy was definitely trying to slow down Gusgobo on this Doomfist. You're going to need a lot more help, though, with it. You do find Ligtat out, so you know that backline pressure is about half gone at the moment, but you still have a lot to deal with here with Gusgobo. And Capium taking an interesting offense.
Pretty interesting all things considered right now. Gusgobo gets rid of Volition. You see the point trying to be stolen away. Gusgobo gets rid of 2 already. It's going to potentially look to be able to get rid of a 3rd here. You're trying to run away the best you can if your name is Faceit right now. Should be able to get out alive momentarily. Is going all with the aggression though to still be able to finish things off. Gets rid of 2 more. And now you're just flying in the sky right now if you change. And now this thing's going to go over 100 meters and this is looking devastating already for Factor X.
I mean, we've highlighted every player for this Garfo team throughout this series here, whether it be Ligtat, Dystopia, Gusgobo, God Hanzo, Marcel, Capium. They've all been playing excellently throughout this series. Right now, though, if you're Factor X, this map and this series isn't over yet. You're coming up to all 5 ultimates. That's a huge pick right there because it will slow down Garfo, but then you lose your tank.
Yeah, and Dystopia is going to try to pop off right now. Current 1v1. Diego is able to find the finish, though. So things momentarily going to pause. I mean, Gusgobo's probably just going to go for the punch out of there. He's going to block all of it. He's going to have a big punch. We're just going to give up that because you have no reason not to. 131 meters to 5 right now. You are confident as can be as Diego gets rid of Marcel. And to be honest, Capium is really lucky to be out of there alive.
Yeah, somehow they are here, but Gusgobo not going to be able to say the same thing right there. And if you're Factor X, you needed that. You could not allow Gusgobo to escape with their life. You need to force them to go back to the spawn. And I mean, you can already kind of tell that Factor X knows Ligtat is somewhere in that backline. They are checking every corner right now. They're trying to get rid of the Venture before they become a big problem, especially with Gusgobo back into the picture here. That problem is not that far away from rearing its head.
Not at all, but Dystopia again, another big shot in this fight. Ligtat extremely low, trying to hang around right now. Diego close to going down, but gets back up just in time. Ligtat just has to try to stay alive. Annihilation going to come through here for DM, who just ends up using it as a defensive device. Doesn't get anything here. as Piscopo and Squad are going to be able to go really aggressive with that consistent rush. Marcel going to have that tidal wave as well to be able to give to Gusagobo, or even Licktad. Honestly, you can give it to almost anybody on the squad, and it'd be justifiable. But all I know, Dix, is that clock is ticking away. DM is dead once again here, as right now, I mean, Garfo being stopped is becoming a really difficult task.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you're seeing why they banned out the Venture Map 1, because I think if they didn't ban out the Venture Map 1, I think this might have ended up being a 3-0. Now you see DM going over to the Mauga here. I think it's a last-ditch effort here from Factor X, just to try to get something going their way. I don't think they're going to worry about the powered punch. They're just going to try to put as much damage into Gusagobo as they possibly can. But look at the ultimates right now for Garfo. 4 of them online. Diego's Deadeye going to have to find so much here, but they already get rid of Licktad, so you don't have to worry about the Tectonic Shock at the moment.
Yeah, you see investment coming through here. Gusagobo wants to be able to get a little something. It's going to try to go aggro. Gets booked out of the air. That's going to keep Diego alive. Bolus is going to go with the copy over on the Doom as well. I mean, a Doom and a Malga running me down. I am getting out of that fight as soon as humanly possible. I'm still hanging around a little bit. Make sure Sophia has good spawn, which they 100% will. Capium is extremely close to going down. Diego's been really consistent with these shots, but just cannot find the finish.
I mean, Diego still has that Deadeye ready to go here, so they need to build some time. They need to build some space. It might be time for them to use it here, but you still see 3 ultimates ready to go here for Garfo. I'm looking at Dystopia and that overclock. They've been so consistent throughout the night, no matter what. They need to find something here now as the Deadeye comes out from Diego, but they're being pressured out.
Yeah, Change gets rid of Licktad though, so it does open up the door potentially. Korea goes super low, has to invest the rally here, as the door should open up here for a Factor X dub. You're going to see the pressure get out. Gusagobo can be able to get out of there alive. Marcel and Dystopia more than happy to do the same, but nobody pushed that card, so Licktad and Capium both got the forward spawns.
And Gusagobo going to come back in fast. You're going to see now Garfo come back in fast as well. Tongue shots out pretty early on. That's the opening act. They're looking for a little bit of a follow-up here, but Licktad is splitting up the team.
Ooh, Licktad plays volleyball with Freyek right there. Knocks him in the air, sends them packing. And now this next fight is going to be Dusty. You're getting a little bit more progress, but you need more than a little bit of progress right here. Diego able to get rid of one, but heals are hard to come by. Licktad just needs to be able to find somebody to latch onto, and unfortunately, I mean, this fight's going to fall apart again, as you're getting little victories, but it's really hard to get these back-to-back fight wins if you're Factor X.
Yeah, it is right now. You're starting to get something going away, like you said, the little victories, but we need to see some consistency. That's what we talked about for Factor X. They need to go back to how they were playing on that first map, where they had that consistency going their way. So far, it's still going back and forth, and like I said, I think Garfo is one of those teams that is okay going back and forth, because they will be able to come back in with the same aggression, fight after fight after fight, and eventually you will break.
It may only took that one fight just to break things right now. Licktad, extremely low, needs a little bit of care in their life. Will get it. Marcel pressured out as well, needs a little bit of care. And we are going to see this highway barely go down in time for Licktad. Is going to be able to get rid of Diego. But we're back in a 4v4 situation. Licktad isn't really going to be able to find any level of follow-up right now. It's going to have to basically just get out of there, stay alive. But again, you're not mad if you're Garfo. You are just draining this clock away.
No, yeah, absolutely. If you're Garfo, you're okay with it. You want to get ultimate out from the other side. You just want to waste the clock. We talk about all the time 50-50 fights. You're still finding picks. You don't need to complete the map. You have a huge lead. Meter check coming out there from Gusagobo. Just, they went for a little bit of attacking move there, but just jumped right back out. You do have PM, though, and Diego. Having both their ultimates ready to go here, you need to find value with, I think, only one of them. You cannot invest them into the same fight, because I feel like that will just open the door for Garfo to complete and end the map.
Yeah, and Diego's down already. You have to run. I mean, you cannot lose DM here. It is devastating if you do. You're going to throw down with a cage fight. I mean, you almost had to kind of stem the bleeding a little bit. DM needs to stay alive. It's going to be able to do so at least momentarily, but Gusagobo just got all the charge in the world, by the way. And now, Deadeye here from Diego has one more chance to stem the bleeding. Gusagobo block is not going to last forever, though, so this might not be the ending right here, ladies and gentlemen. Capium is still going to hold on to this Kitsune rush. And all things considered, that is still something that's going to be really difficult to deal with.
Gusagobo, yeah, hitting the bro right there. That Deadeye maybe lasted a little bit longer than they expected. But right now, again, we talked about it. If you're Garfo, you're still completely fine with how this map is going for you. A minute to go, you have an over 100-meter lead. We haven't seen Factor X win 2 fights in a row here. They now need to probably win 3, 4, potentially even 5 fights in a row. to get the lead and probably win this map, and you only have a blade to your name right now. You need to be able to get some of the ultimates out from the other side first and hope that no one gets picked off.
Yeah, Volition needs to be a hero for the squad right now to get things started. Here we go. Cleanse used immediately. Volition push back all the way, doesn't have any follow-up, and he just gets obliterated. And now Ligtat's gonna move through, gonna try to clear things up and around. Change, Diego, all getting so incredibly low. Now gonna find anything on the way out is DM. That car gonna slowly roll forward, but there'll be enough time for one more touch. But I mean, this is gonna be rough.
I mean, if you're Garfo here, why even push it? I think you could just gone up and tried to spawn hold, and I don't think Faceit would have been able to get back to the bot anyway. I don't think they're gonna be able to get back to the bot. DM trying to get there, just gets denied, and Garfo, a great victory here for them. They looked very, very strong after that first map.
Yeah, that's incredible right there. I mean, Faceit, they come out, they look really strong out the gate. They have a really good showing on some of these other maps, but here, I mean, they just get shut down. They get entirely shut down right here. They realize that they are cooking with this Doomfist, and it just never gets stopped from there on out. Nothing ever was fully able to stop Gusagobo, and the rest of the squad just kind of followed suit. And that's unfortunate, obviously, for Faceit for a multitude of reasons, but I mean, this is what Garfo needed to do in this series. They needed to find the linchpin, the thing that was going to keep shutting Faceit down. They found it out, and Faceit just never found a way to shut it down.
Yeah, and I felt like the Doomfist ban on New Junk City was a little bit of a reactionary ban. One that, yeah, you could see Doomfist finding a lot of value there, but I felt like no matter what, Garfo was going to come out with that Joker Queen there from God Hanzo. I felt like that was just maybe a little bit of a quick reflex kind of ban there. You really wanted to probably hold it on for what ended up being Saravasa. But, I mean, Gusagobo, God Hanzo, they looked great throughout the series. Yeah, God Hanzo had their difficulties on that first map, but come back in on that third map or their second map of the game, it looked much, much better. But like I said, we highlighted everyone for Garfo this entire series, whether it be Ligtat or Dystopia, Capium or Marcel. They look like a team that is going to be scary to some other teams right here. And Faceit, again, this was a very close series. We mentioned it. It could have been 3-0 Faceit, could have been 3-0 Garfo at times. It was that back and forth throughout this entire one. So even though Faceit loses this one, and we talked about a very important game for them coming into this one here, and they now fall to 3-4 on the season, I still see a way that this team, they have the talent there, they have the players. They just need to get that consistency back, and they'll be able to, I think, really take it to some of their next teams they're playing, because I believe it's, I don't know the actual name, but it's Trucker's Vlog and Overwatch coming up, who right now are sitting, I think, up towards the top. But those teams aren't unbeatable. They are definitely beatable. I think Faceit, if they get back to that consistent play that we saw back on Nepal, they will be able to have something there for those two teams. Garfo, but a really important series for them as well. Third game of the season, 2-1. Now, actually, no, this is actually their second game of the season. They came in 1-1. This was only their second game of the season. So they have a lot of games left to go here. A couple more this week. I think are we covering one more of theirs this week? Or
so we are covering Garfo again. So specifically, I'm gonna pull up the Yield Twitter for this one because memory is a fantastic thing. But we're covering them. They're going up against Cosmos on Thursday. Is the game we're doing for them. We're not doing Faceit again this week, but I mean we're doing 2 of Cosmos' games. We're doing 2 of Truck Vlog's games, 2 of Garfo's games. To be fair, but these are teams that need to be seen right now because these are 3 teams that. I know Garfo's only played a couple of games thus far, but I think these are the 3 teams that are really heavily considered to be in that top 4 race, and these games are going to matter a lot.
Yeah, and hey, we're going to see Trucker's Vlog twice. We haven't seen that team yet. Really want to see that team, especially since they started off really, really good this season. But a great series here for Garfo. Again, this is a team that they have, I think, some sneaky good players on this team. And especially someone like DM who had some internet problems throughout the night. You can go back and look at their first 3 maps. You won't get the whole picture. They were incredible. And Diego on the other side, I think was the best performer there for Faceit, most consistent, really did keep Dystopia there in check a lot of the times this series. So again, there's positives to take away from both teams. I think there's negatives to take away from both teams as well. But Garfo, a really, really good victory here tonight.
Oh no, it's a fantastic win tonight, and I am proud of how they have been playing. Obviously, we've only been able to see so much between CGL and obviously the limited amount of matches that we've seen here in the season of Faceit. But they have the gauntlet in front of them. We talked about the gauntlet earlier. They're going to have this is a team that you could see being as high as 6-1 with this weekend being done. That is a very real possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to see. I think this Garfo team is really, really good, and I think it's unfortunate there's only 4 playoff spots. I really do. I think honestly, this might be one of the more competitive seasons of Faceit we've seen here in South America.
Yeah, it is, because you're going to have certain teams that are going to be left out that are going to perform extremely well, because while we talk about like Cosmos, Faye, Trucker Vlog, Dilpados, there's not going to be enough room for all of them. Someone is going to be left out at some point, but it's going to come down to those big games that we're going to witness, for instance, the rest of this week, honestly. Pretty much almost every single match we're going to see has really heavy implications, especially as we draw further and further towards the end of the season. I know it's weird to say the end of the season already when we're still nearly 2 months out on the actual end of it, but because of the big break, because of a lot of the teams getting a lot of their games done before the break, we're going to get a very good idea of who the playoff teams potentially are versus who, unfortunately, is potentially going to have their season done before Christmas is even here.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, there's that break coming up here starting next week. I know there's a couple teams that have scheduled games during that break. So we'll see some movement, not necessarily a lot, I think, in the standings, but it's going to be really interesting to see come after that break here, especially with that much downtime. These teams are going to have a lot of times to scrim, a lot of times to go into the lab, figure something out. Vendetta is there. We saw a brief glimpse of that from Lake Tat here tonight. Is she going to be a hero that's strong? Is she going to be a hero that's weak? Is it going to be a hero that we see very, very often or not at all? There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered here, especially during that break. But Hunter, I mean, a lot more time left to go in this season time-wise, but for some teams, only a couple games left. But this one here tonight is done and dusted.
Yeah, and I am excited to see what both these teams are going to do with the rest of their season, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit more of them throughout the rest of the season. But that is it for tonight. But hey, make sure you still come and join us again tomorrow. We have a double header coming your way, not only tomorrow, but Thursday as well. Tomorrow, we got Cosmos taking on Truck Vlog in South America, and then we're heading over to North America to watch Kensugi take on the former Boot Troop, now YFP, as they have taken over as of today, as a matter of fact. So I'm excited to see that go down. But I hope y'all join us for that as well. I'm happy y'all...
Hunter.
What's up?
What are we doing this week?
I'm gonna go over it still. I wasn't done yet.
Sorry.
Done yet. But yeah, as we said before a couple times right here, we are doing a charity drive this week for Toys for Tots. I'm excited to be able to go through with it. Obviously, we've had a bit of a slower day here today, but at the end of the day, again, do what y'all are able to do. No one is under any obligation, but this is to be able to help a lot of families here in the U.S. be able to have themselves a better Christmas, whether that is just being able to help out with families, being able to pretty much have food on their plates, to be able to have toys under the Christmas tree. It's a really important thing. I personally come from a family that has, in the past struggled to be able to do something like that, so this is very impactful for me to be able to help people out. But obviously we still have a couple of days of streams of the charity going to be active, so if you're able to help out, amazing. If you're able to share it, that's amazing too. Whatever you're able to do, it is appreciated to the highest extent. And obviously we'll check in more and more. I'll make sure to have the links posted on Twitter this time, that way it's a little bit more accessible than just a single pinned thing sitting at the top of a Twitch chat bar. But obviously, we'll figure that out for tomorrow, Dix. I'm excited for it. I'm happy we are doing this, and I'm happy that we had a pretty entertaining game with that to start the week.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a really fun one. I thought there was a good chance that Faceit was going to be able to piece it back together there on Runasapi around probably the 3-minute mark. But as it started going on, Garfo really started to show that they were the better team here tonight. But hey, if these two teams meet again later on, yeah, I think Factor X, especially if they do meet again later on, might have something to say about it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that go down, but we'll go on about that a different day. But thank you all for joining us here today. Thank you all for supporting everything that we do. Thank you for, even if you're just here supporting this, you're supporting Toys for Tots, and I appreciate that so very much. We'll be back tomorrow for all this Faceit League action, for all of this fundraising action, and we'll see you all next time. Take care now.